Financial Streams. My name's Michael, this is Andrew.
Hello.
So we'll just do another monthly update on a topic in the financial services sector, with the purpose is trying to educate people and provide information. And so today, I'm just following on a bit from our last session, just talking about the start of the calendar year and what it looked like, and setting some strategies and the process Andrew goes through. And today I'll unpack that a bit more in terms of some goal setting, the process that Andrew might go through in setting some goals, some financial goals. And secondly, the flip side of that, or not the flip side, but another component of that is just profiling people's risk appetite. So I was having a joke with Andrew before about cryptocurrency, so that's a classic example of it where people are making money, but it depends what your appetite to risk. And the best quote I've read in my limited reading in that space is that if you're prepared to lose all your money in cryptocurrency, then it's a good investment. So, hand it over to you, Andrew, about the process for setting some goals and what it looks like.
Yeah. So last time we discussed what are some of the things that you're wanting to achieve, and how do we get to that point through a conversation around what's important about money and those type of things. And it's just to open up the floor really to try and get some concrete goals together for clients. And I suppose the main piece of that is we're trying to get SMART goals, and some people may or may not know the SMART goals, but specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-based.
The acronym SMART, so you've got specific, so something I suppose
tangible. What you're wanting to achieve.
Measurable, so it can be, I want X dollars by this, or I want to go on a holiday by then. What's the next one? Achievable, isn't it? Achievable, so yes, it's not like saying I want to win $1 million by the end of the year for them.
Yeah.
Realistic. So something that's sort of within your grasp or foreseeable. Yeah. And time-based. By when.
Yeah, by when. Yeah. And we're driven by those type of goals because at the end of the day it becomes a mathematical equation, and so we can from a financial perspective put some realistic expectations around how that can be delivered and when and so forth. And so that becomes really important, and as we discussed, the goal itself, what you're wanting to achieve, can be quite a personal discussion. But realistically, we, from a financial planning perspective, will try to work on some tangible things that will make your life better. And we discussed those last time. Yeah. So it's more of like a personal personal goal from that point of view.
Yeah.
Why do we do that? Is I suppose
moves from a philosophical. My takeaway from the last session is it's more about what's important to you about money. Is sort of a philosophical sort of conversation to start with yourself, and then because I'm a nuts and bolts man more in my sort of profession and the way I think, then that leads to some tangible action plans, for want of a better word, that might be relevant to me to say I want to put $10,000 towards this investment within 6 months or something like that. But how am I going to do that? It's bit by bit rather than all of a sudden winning Tatswara or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And that's going through and having some action plans, I suppose, is the sort of the when the rubber hits the road.
That's right. And from a planning point of view for us, we're trying to plan around life's journey and the milestones that you go through in life, and as you get older, there's things that free up your capacity, and you can start to put more money towards investment. Yeah,
and that's just personally speaking, that's, so for Jenny and I, it's when the kids are young, you sort of all hands on deck, and then they go through school, and we look back now and it's sort of, in relative terms, the blink of an eye, and then all of a sudden we're in Ginestas and we have some discretionary income to, what's the next step for us in terms of our investment philosophy or steps.
That's right.
So that's just a cycle of life that we sort of I've been through, but whereas others, it's sort of like I met with a client before, and it's like 5-year-old and 4-year-old, and she's just starting to work again, so they're debating, how much do you put for health insurance and how much do kids' education and all those sort of things. So they're the questions at that point in time about their life that are important.
So for me, it's really important to sit down and to sort of, I have a really, I suppose, straightforward sort of timeline that I work through, and a lot of it's very similar generic milestones that everyone in life will go through. It's not there to formulate a discussion, it's there to try to prompt a discussion and help people make decisions about what they're trying to do, and then give them a bit of a focus on what they want to do next.
Focus and some tools almost at some various time, just to, as you've always said to me, it's the basic equation is quite simple: money in, money out. So making sure you've got a handle on what money is coming into the household, what is your budget, and where is that money going. So
another analogy is having the right money at the right time to do things that you want to do, or having the right bucket of money to put on the table when you're ready to do things. So that goals discussion leads through to that sort of visualisation of where you're heading and what you're wanting to do, and then we can start to, hey, I really want to do this, and then we can start to put some dollar values to what that will cost and the time frame. But that also leads down to how do we go about improving those outcomes, and it often falls back in the investment space on what we do, and it can involve. I suppose I see your debt as an investment tool in your home mortgage. Also see your superannuation as a tool. It's got limitations, and it's also got some tax advantages with it as well. So we start to think about what are the tools that we're going to use to help you get to where you want to go from that point of view. And then obviously there's other investments outside of those environments with your direct investing, managed funds, different vehicles like that, your direct share investments as well.
And then you've got direct property investment, I suppose, the uptake of people having investment property or looking to have an investment property is part of some people's strategies.
And so it's sort of having, in my view, it's always having a multi-tiered strategy to how you get where you're wanting to go. Property's always been something that a lot of people really gravitate to, and from my point of view, that also gives you the resources to leverage and so forth, if that's in your risk profile.
I suppose historically part of the Australian intergenerational psyche or this way we've done life in the past is having your quarter-acre block with your family home. That was sort of the bread and butter. I think things are changing now, but that's sort of been the last few generations sort of part of people's staple investment portfolio. But with property prices the way they're at and different generations' approach to it, it's probably changing. So the conversation's probably changing a bit. We're looking at other types of investments. But
I looked at a client who bought a few years ago bought an investment property, and they've actually made in this environment actually a really good upswing in terms of the value of that property. It actually equated to, I was looking at the numbers there and I was, gee, wow, where else do you get an investment that's gone up $2,000 every week since they bought it? So that can go really, really well. And it is a definite part of your wider investment philosophy.
That's right.
But that's different for everyone, and that's different based on age and life cycle and so forth.
I was just reading something the other day that they were talking about, post-COVID, some of the property investment decisions that people are making are leaning towards like the family home, but looking at a family home with an investment mindset, which is quite a bit of a change. So they're looking to buy a place they can renovate, or it's in an area that's going to go up in value, or they can add value to it. But they're not looking necessarily to have that as a separate investment. It's just part of, you know, a more shorter term horizon compared to probably my grandparents' generation was like had the home and it's just passed down to the family. It's like you know, it was just a really long term play.
Yeah, I suppose that's an interesting way to look at it. I mean, I always look at. I suppose I have a preference for if I'm buying a property, it's a long term play. I don't want to sell it too quickly. And incur stamp duty and have to rebuy and make up all those costs again. But then that's just a personal thing for me. And then I see some people who are really great at flipping houses and they're good at picking it. And I think that skill set is great. But if you can totally understand the asset that you're trying to develop. Some people are better at that than others.
And I think it's part of the advantage of coming to have a third party assess your investment approach, or your, as you say, your financial goals. And as I sort of said at the start, part of that is you go through a risk profiling process, just to say, well, what is your appetite for risk? Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, so I suppose from the financial planning industry's point of view, you know, you've got to match the investment with the right type of risk profile. I suppose that really comes back to quite a few different facets, and you know, how young you are, how much I suppose ability you can I suppose recover from a downward
earn your own money, like how many years you got left working, or
correct,
what's your sort of career prospects look like?
Career prospects, and how much risk you're willing to take. And some people are conservative, some people are real go-getters, and some people you know, want to hold on to the roller coaster and see it go. And so there's different assets that have different, I suppose, volatility levels, and risk is what we term that volatility from that point of view. So matching that and having a discussion around that profile for you, it's a wide-ranging thing. For me, it's not just I suppose it's not a psycho assessment. It's about getting to know the individual, getting to know what your goals are.
So is it some questions you asked in a formal sense, or was it more information gleaned? Yeah,
there's a formal risk assessment that most planners will go through, and that's a questionnaire-based analysis. But then again, you've got to use your professional judgment and so forth on, you know, the age of the client, you know, and their experience in the past. I think that's really important. If you've been a bit of a risk taker in the past, then that plays a key role in it as well.
Yeah, sometimes you've taken a punt and it's backfired. It sort of might make someone a bit more conservative. Into the future,
but if you're getting towards your later working career or you're heading into your retirement years, you naturally become a little bit more conservative.
So last thing you want is another GFC on your doorstep.
That's right.
2 years out, 12 months out from retirement. So.
But from our point of view, to get longevity with people's funds, you need to take on some level of risk. That becomes important. So. It's a fairly wide discussion in terms of, you know, but it can be a few tools that can be used to.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up for today. So as we've sort of just to recap, we've sort of just encapsulated from last session just about setting the goals, having smart goals, as we said, being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. and time based, and to unpack those into some time frames and an action plan to make things happen, and then looking at your investment philosophy and your investment approach, and finding out what your tolerance to risk was as a risk reward trade-off in that process.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's been useful, and then I think next time we're just unpacking a bit more about some investment strategies, some examples from there. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you all soon.